the DOH detects the first confirmed case of monkeypox in the Philippines. The case is a 31-year-old Filipino national who arrived from abroad last July 19.
Particularly fatal, but it is of concern. So his primary concern was to get the information out so that people will be aware, but also to be aware that the systems of the DOH are in place and that this is not the same as COVID.
From the nation's capital, all sides, all the time, I'm Robbie Alampay.
And I'm Riza Diaz. The big story tonight.
The Philippines has detected its first case of monkeypox.
Now, the patient, along with their 10 close contacts, are under quarantine for close monitoring. Maricel Halili with the big story.
The Department of Health has confirmed the first case of monkeypox in the Philippines. The case is a 31-year-old Filipino who arrived from abroad last July 19. Health Undersecretary Beverly Ho said the case had prior traveled to countries with documented monkeypox. After showing some symptoms, the patient underwent RT-PCR test at the RITM on July 28 and tested positive of the virus.
The case has been discharged well and is undergoing strict isolation and monitoring at home.
Ho said the health department has already completed its case investigation and identified 10 close contacts. 3 of them were from the same household. Fortunately, all close contacts are asymptomatic, but they are still in quarantine for close monitoring. Based on the guidelines of DOH, the quarantine period will last from 14 to 21 days, depending on the symptoms that may occur. To help prevent the spread of the virus, the DOH reminds the public to keep hands clean. Always wear face mask, cover coughs using the elbow, and choose areas with good airflow. The DOH also advised the public to minimize close sexual contact with suspected cases, especially those with rashes or open wounds. While the situation is still under control, President Bongbong Marcos has given directives to government agencies.
This is not particularly fatal, but it is of concern. So his primary concern was to get the information out so that people will be aware, but also to be aware that the systems of the DOH are in place and that this is not the same as COVID.
The DOH is already in contact with U.S. government for the possible procurement of monkeypox vaccines. For News 5, Maricel Halili, We Are One News.
Here to talk to us more about government's monkeypox response on the line is Health Undersecretary Beverly Ho. Welcome to the big story, Undersecretary Ho.
Hi, everyone.
Yusek Ho, before we get to the response, maybe take this opportunity as well to still educate and the people about monkeypox, about this virus. And maybe let's take this first case in the Philippines as an example. This person who we've confirmed has monkeypox, what's the prognosis? What does this person, what will he or she expect to feel? And how does he or she eventually emerge from this infection?
Generally, the profile of patients that we've seen in other countries, particularly for these new outbreak, most recently, they're generally young. And as mentioned, people are not usually hospitalized for this condition. They can recover at home fairly well. The fatality is also, the chances of dying from it is also much less. And that makes you want to, reassure the public that it's not fatal as hindi dapat katakutan. However, it is infectious, particularly in that point in time where you will have the rashes and the vesicles, the lesions in your skin. And when that happens, contact with those lesions is actually the most infectious of all.
Now, Undersecretary Ho, does this also mean that contact tracing, if necessary, as well as quarantining, is a much, much easier and more manageable situation compared to, let's say, contact tracing and quarantining for COVID?
To a certain extent, yes. And that's because one of the features is definitely this is not spread through air. So it may droplet component and close contact component, which you will be able to figure out, which is kind of difficult for COVID, especially when you're already interacting with a lot of people. So yes, contact tracing will be much more manageable in this case, but it also means that the patients will have to also be very cognizant or aware of who they have gotten in close contact with.
Undersecretary, can you give us also an update on the measures that are being taken by the government as to not to be able to spread the monkeypox?
First of all, would be this communication to the general public, which we have started. We're also working closely with specific population groups, organizations, and patient groups, so that our communication campaign will also be more targeted. We don't want to unnecessarily alarm everyone that they would just retreat with us. So this isn't about that, but this is just being more about precaution, targeted precaution among targeted population groups, general awareness of the population. Next step is making sure that our borders are able to screen as early as possible, and that's through the Bureau of Quarantine's One Health Pass, then followed by temperature screening and some inspection at the airport or our port. And then when they're already here, we just wanted the public to know that if they have certain symptoms, then it's time for them to consult. We've also been in touch with our Department of Agriculture and Department of Environmental and Natural Resources, because the three agencies constitute an interagency for Committee for Zoonotic Diseases. So we've been meeting since May, so that for the primates or the animals part of the response, sila na po yung bahala. So they're in charge of that. And then we have, over the last 2 months, built up capacity to test for monkeypox, and that's through RITM. And RITM is ongoing, has ongoing training with our subnational labs. So in a few weeks, our subnational labs can also start receiving the test. So for now, all of the tests are being sent to RITM.
All right, Dr. Ho, thank you for sharing with us all those information. Now we'll continue our discussion with Health Undersecretary Beverly Ho. But for now, join us in the conversation. Our big question tonight. Now, what should the government do to prevent the spread of monkeypox? Share your thoughts on our Facebook and YouTube live stream, or post a tweet with hashtag #TheBigStory. And we'll show some of your comments later on in the program. We'll be pausing for a quick break. Keep it here on One News.
The head of the WHO has declared the monkeypox outbreak a public health emergency of international concern. The virus has spread to about 16,000 people in more than 70 countries. We're joined now by Dr. Catherine Smallwood, Senior Emergency Officer at the WHO. Dr. Smallwood, thanks for joining us. We've gone from a handful of cases to 16,000 known infections in a short period of time. Are we capturing all of the infections? How big could this problem be?
It's likely to be bigger than what we know, and that's partly because of the difficulties in some countries in ramping up the surveillance. It's also partly because we're pretty sure that a lot of people with symptoms and signs of monkeypox might not be presenting early enough to be tested. So we do anticipate that we're seeing the tip of the iceberg here. But let me reiterate that it's still very much focused in a particular group, men who have sex with men, and associated with people who are having a lot of sexual contact with a lot of different partners.
Dr. Smallwood, what we've seen with COVID-19 is its ability to mutate, and the creation of new variants is what is spurring new waves of infections. What do we know about the genomics of this virus in particular, and whether or not it is mutating in a similar way that could make it more infectious and widen its spread?
We're looking at why this monkeypox outbreak is spreading in a slightly different way than we had previously seen it spread in countries where we are used to seeing it spread. And so different mode of transmission or previously undocumented mode of transmission, which is associated with sexual contact, seems to be driving the cases at the moment. We don't know whether that's a result of the change in the virus. It's a DNA virus, so as compared to the SARS-CoV-2 virus, it should be more stable and less prone to rapid mutation.
In terms of fatalities, I mean, what do we know about how this disease affects people? Isn't it unlikely to kill, and what are longer-term ramifications of getting it?
Well, we don't know about the long-term sequelae of monkeypox, and we're learning very quickly very many new things about the disease over the past 2 months. So that's one particular area of uncertainty at the moment. But thankfully, as you say, there's only a few deaths associated with monkeypox this year, none in the over 12,000 cases reported in Europe.
You're watching the big story here on One News. More and more countries have been ringing the alarm over confirmed monkeypox outbreaks. Here's what we know. Monkeypox is a rare disease caused by infection of the monkeypox virus. It was discovered in the 1950s when it first occurred in monkeys kept for research. But monkeys are not the source of the virus. Health authorities have yet to confirm the host species, although it's believed that rodents also play a role in its transmission. Its symptoms are similar to that of flu, including fever, muscle aches, fatigue. How is it transmitted? Monkeypox currently spreads through human-to-human contact, especially through large droplet transmission when people are in close proximity. Experts note, however, that monkeypox is not airborne and is not categorized as a sexually transmitted infection. The WHO says there is no treatment made specifically for monkeypox, but experts note that symptomatic care is important. They say that because monkeypox and smallpox are genetically similar, antiviral drugs or vaccines developed against smallpox may be used. Isolation is also important for patients experiencing monkeypox symptoms. Infectious disease expert Ronchin Solante told One News that although our experience with COVID helped us prepare for a possible monkeypox outbreak, it is still important for government to expand its testing capacity.
We need to expand our testing capacity. It should not only be RITM, or it should not only be Philippine Genome Center. Other hospitals, including private institutions, should be expanded, should have capability to diagnose.
Still joining us tonight, Health Undersecretary Beverly Ho. Dr. Ho, there is a vaccine for monkeypox, hindi po ba?
Yes, there is.
And is that something that we should necessarily be looking at procuring at this point? Dr. Ho? We seem to have lost Dr. Ho.
Right, but it's good that we are able to gather those information, Robbie, that you enumerated earlier. At least as early as now, we would know how somehow to protect ourselves and again to prevent an outbreak of
and also prevent any panic. I think it's important to stress what experts have pointed out early on. One, it's not fatal.
Right.
It is difficult to pass on, or certainly at least it's not passed on as easily as
It's not
COVID.
airborne.
It's not airborne. It's very close contact, and they have qualifiers for that pa nga. But again, is Dr. Ho back with us? Dr. Ho? Wala. But anyway, so those are the things that, of course, government is taking consideration of. As we also said, we also know that there is a virus already, but the whole question now is whether or not it is something that we necessarily have to get or stockpile immediately, or kung hindi pa kailangan.
I think we have Dr. Beverly Ho back.
Dr. Ho, are you back?
Yes, apologize
Apo.
for the technical glitch. Yes, we have been coordinating with our counterparts abroad for supply of the vaccine since May. So we're constantly coordinating, but definitely we will not require vaccines en masse for the entire population as we have done for COVID-19. It is really used for particular patient groups or close contacts only. But as of this time, we also know that monkeypox is self-limiting viral infection. So without, comorbidities or immunocompromised state of the patient, generally they do get well just with supportive therapy.
Okay, yeah, but Dr. Ho, as more and more countries are reporting this, and it's starting to spread in territories that had never seen it before, and with the WHO declaring it a matter of international concern, what is the concern, especially as more people get infected, what is the concern about this virus potentially mutating?
Definitely all viruses have the potential to do that, so it's possible, and that's why it has been declared as a public health emergency of international concern by WHO, not because of the magnitude of the people that have been affected compared to COVID, but really to raise resources all over the world so that the scientific community can continue studying it. Otherwise, if they don't necessarily do that and put focus on this infection, then we will have very limited studies, literature, and evidence around how to move forward with it.
Doctora, let's talk about the COVID-19 cases today. Over 4,000 cases. This is way above projections. How serious is this situation, Doc? And as to, let's say, the status of the cases that are reported today, do we have information? Are they mild? Are they severe? Are these cases of people that are already vaccinated or unvaccinated?
Majority of our COVID-19 cases are mild, so that has been the trend for the past few weeks. What is going to alarm us is whether this translates to increased hospitalization. And so far, our hospitalization stats are manageable, and in fact, it's really the non-COVID cases that are filling our hospitals, which is like pre-pandemic level. So I think at this point in time, what people need to understand, if they're vaccinated and they're boosted, first booster, and if they're eligible for the second booster, that's really their best protection that they will have. And so even if we have increase in cases similar to how you've seen it in Europe the past few weeks, it can be managed, and we don't have to worry as we have done so the past years during the pandemic.
Undersecretary Ho, I mean, just to be very precise on that, what is the hospitalization rate? And if that rate were to hold, what does that say about how we will project at what level the number of infections we expect to actually start to raise the alarm about hospital utilization?
Okay, for COVID cases, we're at low to moderate risk generally, all over the country. It's really in the non-COVID hospital beds utilization that we are in the high risk. But as we've mentioned in our press briefing yesterday, that was actually more a signal to improve patient navigation, referral, and better primary or outpatient care for our patients so that we can decongest the hospital.
Okay, maraming salamat po, Dr. Ho, Health Undersecretary Beverly Ho. And right after another break, we'll be speaking with PNP spokesperson Jean Fajardo to discuss the killing of the father of the gunman in last week's shooting at the Ateneo. That and more when we return. Keep it here on One News.
Human health and public health history, but of course it's left the world without immunity to pox viruses, so it's not surprising to start to see more cases occur when people are exposed.
Monkeypox.
You're still watching The Big Story here on One News. The father of Dr. Chow Yumol, the suspect in the Ateneo shooting incident, was shot dead in Basilan earlier this morning. Rolando Yumol was gunned down at his home in Lamitan. This happened less than a week after the shooting incident at the Ateneo de Manila University, where former Lamitan Mayor Rose Furigay was killed along with her executive assistant and an Ateneo security guard. The PNP says it is investigating the incident. For their part, the lawyer of the Furigay family said they have already requested for an investigation on the matter.
Kung nagulat ang family na nangyari yon, hindi naman tama na husgahan na kaagad ang pamilya Furigay na sila ay may kinalaban dito. Kasi lahat naman ng kaso ay dinaan ng pamilya Furigay sa legal na proseso nung niyurakan ng kanilang mga karapatan.
Let's get the latest on the PNP's investigation regarding the death of Rolando Yumol. We have with us PNP spokesperson Colonel Jean Fajardo. She's joining us over the phone. Good evening, Colonel Fajardo. Welcome po to The Big Story.
Good evening, sir.
Sir, ma'am, hindi na po namin uunahan. I mean, we'll get it straight from you. The latest on the PNP's investigation on this killing. Meron na po ba tayong suspects?
As of now, the investigation is still ongoing, sir. We're still conducting a hot pursuit operation based on the collated information gathered by investigators for the possible arrest of the two suspects involved in the killing of Mr. Rodolfo Yumol, the father of the suspect in the Ateneo shooting incident last Sunday.
But is there any other theory other than this was related to the killing in Ateneo?
As of this time, sir, it's too premature to relate the incident this morning in Basilan to the incident that transpired last Sunday. But nonetheless, the investigators are looking into this possibility and other possible angle, and we are closely coordinating with the family to find out whether prior to the incident the victim has received any death threat that led to the incident this morning.
Colonel, are we ruling out the possibility that this could be a clash of clans, or rido, as they call it?
There are some sectors that are saying that there is a rido involved in this case, but then again, ma'am, we have, with due respect to them, we have to be careful in speculating on the nature of this case. But nonetheless, all the angles are being studied by the investigator, and now we will proceed where the evidence points us. But now it's really too early to pinpoint to that direction, ma'am.
In the meantime po, paano po all the other relatives and the family? Is there any protection there, or for that matter, the other families involved in this entire matter?
Yes, sir. These two incidents are really unfortunate, and we don't want to further add to the grief of both families. And as a matter of update, at around 4 p.m. today, the victim of the shooting incident earlier today was already buried, and that is based on the wishes of the family. And the wife was supposed to travel to Labitan, Basilan, but at the latest we got is out of fear, she decided not to proceed to Lamitan. That's why some of the relatives and friends were the ones who take charge of the burial at around 4 p.m. today.
Okay, maraming salamat po. PNP spokesperson Colonel Jean Fajardo.
For the big story in sports, Filipino pole vaulter AJ Obiena has climbed to third place in the world rankings after a historic bronze medal finish at the 2022 World Athletics Championship. Obiena went up 3 spots after being at 6, accumulating 1,408 points to become the highest rated Asian in the tally of World Athletics. Now, Obiena is fresh from a bronze medal finish in the World Championships, where he cleared an Asian record of 5.94 meters. But that was just the start for EJ Obiena. The 26-year-old said he plans to use the 250,000 peso incentive he is set to receive from the Philippine Sports Commission to help former sprint queen Lydia De Vega, who is battling cancer. Obiena also revealed that his advisor, James Lafferty, plans to match his donation and will extend a 250,000 peso to help the ailing sprinter. Fantastic news. EJ Obiena is just on the rise. Continue to escalate.
And let's remember the year he's had. I'm not talking about the successes,
right.
but really everything he had to, well, quote unquote, hurdle. Diba? Not just the politics and really a lot of things he had to navigate here with officials. Also, COVID.
Correct.
He had to get past that. And really, despite all of that, it's been a banner year for EJ Obiena.
Right. The ability to rise above the adversity in whatever occasion says a lot about him, and also the team behind him.
Pero alam mo, Riza, what's going to be even more exciting, certainly for me, we're going to have EJ Obiena on the Chiefs immediately after the big story tonight. So tapusin na natin to.
Fantastic. I can't wait either to watch that. And
that's the big story tonight. For more updates, follow News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World Online. You may also log on to onenews.ph for more in-depth analysis. Ako po si Robbie Alampay.
Now, the big story is also available via Signal Play app. Make a free account now at signalplay.com and stream One News anytime, anywhere. I'm Riza Diaz. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.